have you really thought, or how do you feel when you see these kind of pop-ups? Happy? I see very few hands. But how about frustrated? Yeah, exactly. We feel frustrated, right? And so does our customers. And what do you do when you see these kind of pop-ups? Or what we expect from our customers when they see these pop-ups? Obviously not uninstall the application. But in today's world, like, for example, me, right? With less patient mindsets, what I will do is I will open their App Store or Play Store or maybe Twitter. Nowadays, I should say, interestingly or weirdly, there's a thing going on LinkedIn as well that some people post, okay, dude, you have this problem in your application. These are the steps to replicate, and these are the screenshots. So people are giving you feedback. The thing is, are you really consuming that feedback? Even sometimes people just uninstall the application because in today's market, because of the lot of competition, you have a lot of free applications which can do the same thing which your application is doing. So there's no point of having that application which shows you these pop-ups, right? You can just uninstall and download the new one. Now let's take a look at what are the feedback sources that our customers have and the presence of our customers on which platforms they are present. So I recently joined eBay, and so I took eBay example. And if you see, this is the eBay Android app, Android Play Store page. You see we have 4.4 rating with some million reviews. And just look at the ones and twos, right? So ones and twos are basically the red ones, and orange one are the bad reviews. 3 are basically the neutral ones, which say, okay, your app is good, but had it been this more functionality on our application, I would have rated it 5. Similarly, you have Twitter, Facebook, and App Store for iPhone users. So you have all these platforms, and also emails as well, because sometimes we get feedback via emails. So now you can imagine that how many consumers are distributed across all these platforms. And to give you numbers, I was just reading a blog, and it was mentioned that by 2019, we're going to have 5 billion mobile users. So now you can imagine how much feedback we can collect from all those users that are using our application. So I picked some examples, which are typical examples, and they talk about a particular feature, or a particular device, or a particular API version, or Android device version, or something. Here's the one. It says, fails to open on GTab 8 10.1 since the last update. This is not 3 hours ago. This was just, I took the screenshot from Play Store. But if you really see this feedback, it talks about a particular device on which your application or my application was not working. Another one. It says, messed up and a lot of new bugs introduced. The sort control goes missing, and sometimes you can only select one condition type, and back button takes you out of the browse altogether instead of to refine search options. Now, if you really read or understand this feedback, it is talking about your search functionality. And it's also given by the user after the release. Another one, which has got 12 upvotes as well. And you can clearly see the last update broke the fingerprint authentication. That means there is really something wrong with the latest update because your fingerprint authentication went wrong. It again talks about a particular feature of your application. Another one, again about the release, and it says, when I try to choose specific choice from listings, it does not let me select it. Example, try to add a pink phone case to my basket, but once it was in my basket, it added the clear one rather than a pink one, one that I selected. This keeps happening on a lot of different products too. Again, a specific feature with even the steps to replicate, like which product he selected or she selected. One more. So again, if you read it, it says about saved searches and also gives you the steps to replicate, that you need to look out for recent search filters and it's not working for me. So again, a feedback which talks about a particular feature of your application also gives you the steps to replicate. And if as a QA, I just open up the Play Store and read all these reviews, I could really figure out what's going on, what's going wrong with my application with the last release that I made. And not only this, our consumers or our customers are really smart, and they give you feature requests as well in their feedback, like which feature they want to see in your application. Because what happens sometimes is that when we work on an application or a mobile application or web application, we are so comfortable, or I should say, we are so into the zone of that product that we never think of being as a customer, of what our customers are thinking while they are using it. So I picked a few examples as well. I love eBay, a very loyal customer, but the app gets 1 star for simple fact that I can't check my eBay Bucks balance. On it, I do not go on the website, so I have to just wait until I get them to see how much I have. Please, eBay, put this functionality on the app, please, please, please. Looks like a very loyal customer, right? And what if we don't release or we don't consider this feedback, right? We might lose loyal customers. We might see customers going on to our competitors. Another one, why is there no specific edit profile selection? Had to go online to do so. So another thing which we might not have thought of, but our customers are thinking and they're giving us feedback, and they want this feature in our applications. Okay, so now think about or assume these feedbacks and why it was a pain point for me, because we were having this feedback, but we are not consuming it anywhere. We are not listening to what our consumers are saying. So I thought, as a QA engineer, I should think out of the box, and let's think upon how to solve this problem with all the programming knowledge you have, all the automation knowledge you have, all the experience you have. So that was the problem number 1 that I was talking about. Now let's move on to problem number 2. And then we're going to see the solutions for that. So problem number 2 is basically about analytics. And thanks to Attila, I hope a lot of people joined his talk. And he touched upon data analytics and how to use that in testing. The part that I'm going to touch is really different. So he talked about using graphs and metrics and then using it in your companies and testing on basis of that. What I'm going to talk is about how do you test that these graphs are populated correctly? How do you test that all the analytics events from your applications, be it mobile, be it web, are going correctly? I'll give the examples as well. But how many of you are working or testing analytics in your applications, in your web or mobile applications? I see very less hands. But let me tell you, analytics is really important part. So whatever you're doing on your mobile applications, either you open Netflix or maybe any of your product, right? Every product is tracking what you're doing on your application. Even if you click, scroll, click on any other button, there are analytics that are integrated everywhere. So what is analytics basically? So I found this pretty simple definition. So it says, analytics is a collection, reporting, and analysis of applications data, which is basically going through your mobile or web applications. The focus is on identifying measures based on your organizational and user goals, and using this data to determine the success or failure of those goals, and to drive strategy and improve the user's experience. Pretty simple. It's all about measuring how your app is performing. Are your customers happy with your applications, with your features? And on top of that, your top management or high management is actually measuring all these graphs. And by these graphs, they hope, okay, if the graph is going up, it's good. But if it's going down, then let's talk to the QA, right? You did not test something, and that's why our graph is going down. And by the graph, I mean this. So I hope we all have this analytics dashboards, right? So I picked a couple of them, but there are a lot of tools available through which you can track analytics. If you really look at this picture, this talks about what are the user visits, what is the geographical location of your product, right? What is the average time consumer is spending, how many unique visitors you have, what is the revenue we are generating. I picked one more. So here you can see what acquisitions you have, how many conversions you are making, from where people are coming organically or non-organically. So these charts are really important for a lot of organizations these days. And I was working in a company where we were having a product similar to Netflix. So it was an OTT domain. And these charts were really important. And whenever we were seeing a dip, QAs were always blamed. Like, you did not test this feature, that's why we are seeing this chart is going down, and now we need to do a hot fix or release another one or something. Now, what was the pain point? So the pain point was, how do you track or how do you test that these charts are populated correctly? So I picked an example to make you guys see what we were tracking and how does this tracking works. So if you look at this left picture, which is basically when I clicked on the login button, so I picked this from a real website, and I will not tell the name, but it's when I clicked on the login button, the analytics call was fired from your application. And if you really look at the events, so on the left side, you see the events, that is page name, C27, V23, C34. These are all the keys that populates your graphs on these dashboards. But on the right side, you see the particular names. So for example, I clicked on the login button. So the page name was login into XYZ, ABCD. And then the event was user -login C27, and it was saying non-logged in because I was non-logged in user. And then if you really see C34, it says logged out because I was logged out at that point in time. On the right side of the image, you have forgot login button. So there was another button on that web page, and I clicked on that. And again, you see the events got changed. The keys are the same, but the values got changed because they're tracking you with every step you perform. And now consider, because nowadays every product is on mobile, which includes Android and iOS, mobile web, and web. So you have these platforms where all these tracking is going on. And these calls are made by your application. So all these values are actually in your application, and when you click on this button, these values go in a call. Now, how do you really test that these values are going correctly? Because this is gonna put on the graphs. So this was a pain point because we had 4 platforms, and with a single change in the code, you have to test all these platforms with all these values because they can go wrong. And if they go wrong, I am the person who will be blamed. So this was the second pain point that I had. And then I had to think out of the box again to come up with something so that with a simple step, I can validate all the 4 platforms and I can test analytics. And then can say, OK, we can release the product because we are making a good release. Everything is fine. So before going to the automated approach, I will tell you my manual approach, what I was doing. I was in India 8 months back, and I was traveling to office in the morning, and it was taking around 1 hour just to reach the office. So what I was doing at that point in time is I was investing that 1 hour in reading the user feedback. So I was opening the App Store or Play Store and reading the feedback that I was getting for my application. And then I was doing that just after the release so that I can monitor what's going wrong in my release. And I used to do it for like 1 week so that I have some data points, because nowadays people need data points before you say something to your product owners or project managers or someone. And then I was saying, OK, I read 1 week's review, and people are talking about search, people are talking about login, so that means something is wrong. Let's have a dedicated session, a QA session, or a bug bash or something, and let's figure out what's wrong. So this was my manual approach. But there I was wasting a lot of time. So I thought, why not let's automate that? Because automation is not about just writing BDD test and testing the functional and non-functional part. Automation is anything where you can reduce manual effort and you can bring value to your team. So I did this. Pretty simple. I went on to Android App Store, which is Google Play Store, get all the reviews. So a review basically a statement can be of 3 types: positive, neutral, and negative, right? Positive ones, happy things. OK, that's good. But we don't need positive. We only need negative and neutral. So I segregated that into negative and neutral. And then what my small program or utility is doing is it's kind of generating reports where you can see, OK, this feedback is talking about this particular feature or functionality in your app, and this is wrong. So this was my automated approach. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. And I integrate this with CI. So it's running on Jenkins for 1 week, and you can monitor and you can get reports, and then you have data points. So no manual approach needed. Second thing. So for problem 2, like I said, I need to validate it on 4 platforms. So I thought, OK, again, let's do something. Let's think out of the box and do something. So what I did was we were using BDD. How many of you are using BDD or Given When Then, Cucumber, Gherkin? Right? A lot of hands, right? So nowadays people are using that, and we were also having that in our test framework. So I thought, OK, we are validating functional test, but let's validate analytics via the same framework. So I wrote some feature files which are particularly validating only analytics in your applications. And then you can put events or values that you want to be verified, and then you can execute them on staging, live, or whichever environment you want. OK. Enough of talking. The best part I like is demo. But this is not a live demo because live demos goes really wrong in presentations or conferences. So I recorded everything for you. Now, if you see this, so what I'm doing is, on the first part you see package name, so you can put any package name. This is basically the Android, so you need to put the Android app package name. For eBay, it's com.ebay.mobile. Then the review date, which is 15, so you can mention a review date, I want reviews for only 15. Or even you can put an array saying, okay, I want reviews for 15, 16, 17, and so on, a particular date. And then you run a rake task. So it's in Ruby, that's why it rake. But at the back, you see, it opened the browser. It is trying to fetch all the reviews that are there on the web page. And then it stores that into a CSV file. So this CSV file contains all the reviews that you got, okay? Next is basically what it will do is it will segregate all the reviews. So we are not here to get positive ones. We are only here to get negative and neutral ones because we want something to help our get feedback and improve our product's quality. Happy ones are good to read. You can feel happy about reading those feedback. But the main one we are concerned is only negative and neutral. And then what it will do is this. So it analyzes. This is just for demo purpose. So in the backend, what it will do is now you can see for every review that we got, it tries to figure out either it is positive, negative, or neutral. And it will keep on doing that for all the reviews that you get for the particular date. And then again, because it's doing that, it will store negative ones in a separate file, neutral ones in a separate file. And the negative ones we use for finding bugs in our application. And neutral ones we can use for finding feature requests, and we can help product owners. So this is one of the reports that I generated for eBay. And you can see on the left, these are the areas, and on the right, these are the reviews. So you can figure out, okay, there's something wrong with the search, something wrong with the latest update, something wrong with the price. But this is just for day one. Keep on monitoring it for 6-7 days. You might see a lot of things going wrong in your application, and you can easily figure out which part to focus on. This is the first report that I created while I developed this utility. So it talks about download, and really we debugged more, and we figured out that we broke the backward compatibility, and we fixed it. For analytics, this is the BDD file, a simple one given when then. You say given, I launch the application when I wait for the page view event. So this page view event is basically the analytics call that your application will make. And then you say, I want to match the events. How it does is basically you create a baseline. So you can store all the events in a baseline. And then whenever your tests run, it will match with this baseline. And if something goes wrong, you have early feedback. So you don't have to wait for updating anything or something. There's already a baseline, and your events will be matched. So you can see all the key value pairs that we saw in the image, and this will be validated against the values saved. So I'm running a little fast because time is almost over. So tech stack, what I used is, again, open source. I used Cucumber, Ruby because I love working with Ruby, Water because it's a wrapper over Selenium, and you can use it in Ruby. It's called Web Application Testing in Ruby. MITM proxy because I want to store all these analytics calls that are going from my system, from my application. So I use MITM. It's called man in the middle proxy. It's pretty simple to use, and you can use it on terminal. And this alien sentiment analysis, so this is a third-party API you can use. It's free again, I think, for 1,000 calls in a day. So the screen you saw where it was printing positive, negative is basically using this external API. Next steps, introduce machine learning because I want to make kind of a machine where you don't have to put functionalities or features. It keeps on learning on itself. Use Google APIs to fetch all the reviews. Fetching reviews from all other platforms like Twitter, Facebook, emails maybe. And for analytics, I want to run it on all platforms like Android, iOS, whatever platform it is. So for now, it is only on web, but I'm working on this and will make it open source soon. Thank you very much. And yeah, you can use this thing.
Thank you very much. And before we go into the questions, please don't forget to give a rating for the session. This is very important for the conference and also for the speakers as well. But let's go for the questions now. The first one. So let's say that customer leaves feedback and he wants to add some feature, opinion to edit the option to edit the profile. How do you evaluate this idea and work with it?
Exactly, very good question. So like I said, it's not about monitoring it for day one. Let's monitor it for 7 days, 10 days, right? And if you see a lot of requests are coming from people or your customers and they're asking for the same feature, then you can go to your product owners, product managers, or even higher management to suggest them. It's not about you have to force somebody to use it, but it's like you're getting something for free, and you can suggest people that, our consumers are asking that, and I'm seeing a trend for last 7 days, 10 days, maybe 20 days, right? And they're talking about this feature, let's add that. Or even they might consider that in your next releases, next sprints, or however they plan, right? Maybe they'll add a story in the backlog. But even if they add this into a backlog, your task is done, right? You did some good job, and you have the story in backlog because you're listening to your consumers.
Okay. So the next question is, could you automate the sorting and understanding of those numerous customer feedbacks to shorten the response time? I think he's talking about how to classify or how to match it to features, I guess.
Yeah, so if I understand it correctly, what I did in my utility is I created an array which has all your, I would say, major or important features or functionalities in our application. And I try to map the reviews or the feedback with that array, okay? So you can keep on updating those arrays to say, okay, I want this particular functionality, or I released a new feature, let's add that to that array so that we can map all the reviews. And to sorting, what I showed in the report was already sorted. So it sorts from A to Z, but you can change it wherever or however you want. It's open source, so it's on you how you want to do it. Talking about the response time, I would say response time is always 1 day behind, because, for example, I want reviews for today. I have to wait for tomorrow because people will put reviews for today. Then I can get that reviews for today on the next day. So this time, you cannot shorten it because you need some time for the people to put reviews. So you have to deal with it, but yeah.
Okay, maybe one more question. This is anyway I'm also interested in. So how do you categorize between negative and positive feedback?
All right, so this approach is called sentiment analysis. So every sentence you say or you read or you hear, right, it's basically divided into 3 sentiments. Like I said, positive, negative, and neutral. So what this algorithm is doing, basically I use external API, but what also they're doing is every word in a sentence has a rating from -1 to +1. So I'm talking about deep how this algorithm works, right? So every word has a rating from -1 to +1. So let's say you say good, right? So good will be rated above 0 because it is positive, right? But if you talk about words like not, right, or negative words, it will be rated below 0. So now what this algorithm does is it will calculate the value for all the words in a sentence, and then it will create a value for a particular sentence. And that value is again between -1 to 1. And if it's above 0, it is a positive sentence. And if it's below 0, it's a negative sentence. So this is what API is doing. And this API is also kind of doing machine learning, so it's learning continuously. But you can build this on your own as well. So it's pretty simple. You can have a dictionary where you rate all the words that you really want. For example, crash is -1 for sure. Okay, so you can create a dictionary and add values to it, and then you can figure out which one is negative, which one is positive.